Flip flop. Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, everybody out there? What is going on, everybody out there in the Bitcoin, XRP, and crypto world? That's what we want to know. A lot of good things happen over here. We're going to talk a lot about cryptocurrencies. You got
Are
it.
we?
We
Okay.
are. We might even talk about something else. We normally do. So if you guys are ready for this, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be awesome. We're going to dig in. Chip, where are we going to jump?
We're going to jump in the shallow end head first for maximum impact, Jeff. Right in the shallow end. Boom. Oh,
Boom, straight in. That's it.
straight
You
in.
guys got anything you want to talk about? Throw it in the chat. Give a quick shout out from where you guys are tuning in to, because that would be really awesome.
Yeah.
We would love to see where you guys are coming in from. We got people from all over the world. Tune in Thursday, because we are going to be in the Gold Coast hanging out with the world of innovation. There's a whole group over there getting together for this amazing event that's taking place next weekend. So that's going to be really cool. Looking forward to it. Chip, you ready to kick this thing off?
Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome to On the Chain, everybody. And also, the virtual pass is available. 130 covers everything. And there's going to be a drawing for a signed John Deaton book.
Virtual.
I know a lot of people outside of the US have been saying, like, hey, can we donate to the campaign? You cannot donate to the campaign. However, you could buy John's book, right? There's plenty of ways to support John. Like, just buy his book. You want to support him? Buy a couple of his books, pass them out to people. It's a great read. So there's other ways you can support him, but as a candidate, you cannot donate to
John who?
John Deaton.
John Deaton.
There you go.
Mahmoud Mohammed is coming in from Ohio.
Ooh,
man, what's going on, man?
You're the good news this morning because you're up early.
It's good to know. Man, we got the Midwest
family, and everything's ready to rock.
So we got Chucky over in Wisconsin.
Recheck.
So we got Ohio, Wisconsin, no Michigan yet. We got Massachusetts, so we're jumping around a little bit.
Massachusetts. If you're from Massachusetts, you can get involved with John's campaign. You can do some door knocking. You can just go to his website and follow. You can say, hey, I want to get involved somehow. I don't know. Contact the campaign, see how you can get involved, maybe enlist a couple of your friends, do some door knocking. Elizabeth Warren is vulnerable. And you notice that she's not on this anti-crypto train anymore. That's not part of her messaging. She's telling you she's going to save the world. Every one of her posts on X is, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. All these irrelevant things that have nothing to do with the state of Massachusetts. So in the Commonwealth, if you live there, you want to make sure that you are going to get John Deaton elected because first of all, John Deaton is a guy who follows his heart. He follows his principle. He isn't swayed by necessarily a party or anything. He's a rare individual that has accomplished a lot in his life, and that's the horse that we want to back in this in sending to Congress. And he takes out Warren, even better. Even better. At Atlanta, Georgia, beautiful. Chi-Town, coming in from Chi-Town, Georgia, coming in from Chi-Town, Chicago.
Chi-Town.
I just talked to I got a chance to see my cousin and my aunt this weekend. They're at my parents' house and hadn't seen them in a long time. And they were telling me they were in Chicago for a little bit. They came through Chicago. And they're saying flying from Michigan, flying from Detroit to Chicago, and the whole time frame thing, it's like it takes 20 minutes, right? It's like an hour flight. It's like you kind of don't lose any time at all. And then they flew out of Chicago.
That flight.
Down here.
You go up, you go down.
James Rule is here, man. The ultimate man, James
Rule, the
crypto
about
show. Your upcoming. James has a cool upcoming
interview.
IRS whistleblower. I'll drop the name in there. I don't recall the name, but James is going to be doing a special interview with this IRS whistleblower, and I love these kind of interviews. So super excited about that, James. You're going to crush it. Looking forward to that. Let us know when that happened. Did it happen? I just saw that was, going to happen there. So cheers.
Tom is coming in from Atlanta. I think I saw Mark coming in from Vienna.
So Jeff, when we
what are you doing in Vienna?
Vienna, Austria. Mark Smithson's everywhere. He always comes in from some other. He's everywhere. So when you and I ended up on the same plane going to different places, we had a connecting through Atlanta.
Yeah.
I happened to catch 3 episodes of the new, Kelsey
Kansas.
Grammer show.
Oh,
Um,
that's an awesome show, The Frasier.
I was the
The
yeah,
new
like,
Frasier?
the new Frasier. I was, like, actually thinking it was actually really pretty well done. It was a couple good laughs. I wasn't expecting
It's
much from
very
it.
funny. Yep.
He's, it was good to see him. I love the old Frasier show. It was weird because I didn't really care for his character when he was on Cheers.
Mhm.
He just was like some dude hanging around. He was always like because he was always like the straight guy, or he's always the butt of the jokes, and he just character-wise. But then Frasier's when he really took off. So it
He
was
came
interesting.
back he came back a little bit. It's the same type of slapsticky type of humor,
Yeah,
it's good.
it's the kind of humor that I like to laugh at. Just don't think too much about it. And just
What's up,
go
everybody
shoot
over
the
on
shit.
Rumble? Davey X.
Yeah, everybody.
Man,
Hello from
check it,
beautiful
man. Palm Beach. That's what we're talking about.
Puerto Rico's in the house, Joe buddy. Yeah, what's up?
Sweet.
Steve
All
Mnuchin back
right.
on the screen.
So you know what that means? We got people coming from all over the place
I
and
didn't think
bought
Mnuchin
TikTok.
Put together a team of people who want to purchase it and make sure that because it stays. I don't think he's actually purchased it though. It's not actually happened yet. Also,
See.
Rumble wrote a letter saying that they wanted to make an offer and purchase it as well. This bill that they passed in Congress is a Trojan horse. It is always think the opposite of whatever the bill is. And the bill has nothing to do with TikTok. The bill itself has to do with government censorship. Shocker, right? If any social company or any company in general is caught any way with election interference in the 2024 election, then that company can be shut down. So what does that mean? Who defines what the interference is? We put some resident things in there, White House resident things there. They put some anti this. It was disinformation. This is how the Ministry of Truth works in 1984. If you recall, this Orwell, when he wrote the book, there was a couple different ministries. The ministries of truth really covered all of the. And I remember reading that book, going, "This book is so preposterous; it doesn't even make sense." Even as a kid, I was like, "It's so outlandish. Like, could this really happen?" And well, it's happening. I mean, it wasn't 1984. The date was a little bit off, but Orwell knew that it was sometime in the future. If you go back and watch some of the interviews with Orwell, he was a fascinating guy. There's a couple good interviews out there of him, and he's just an intellectual beyond. His capacity back then was his brain was living in the future. Everyone's like the same way. Like they didn't think this could actually happen. They didn't think it was actually possible to happen.
Mhm.
And so this bill,
So it's crazy, man. Look at this. So 352 to 65 in the House. That's what kind of support they got for banning TikTok. Now,
but that
there are
no,
some
no, no. Hang on a second.
it says right there.
That's not what the bill is about, though. It's not about. It has nothing to do with TikTok. It has to do with government censoring organizations. What do they want to do? They want to shut down X. They want to shut down Truth. They want to shut down Rumble. This is the instrument to do it because they will
I'm trying to
claim.
find the bill. Well, they'll go across the board, across the board with that. You're right. I mean, anytime you let them pass anything, especially if the language is a little bit murky, then we have to be careful. Look what they
No,
did with
it's
the
very
Patriot
murky.
Act.
No, the Patriot Act was another one. Patriot Act was more government surveillance. So what they're going to do with this bill is they're going to take what's happening in China right now. China, in order for the algorithms to really work, they have to collect
Oh,
data
they're hiding
points.
this one.
Now, they've said they're not collecting data on individuals. However, they are because their algorithm has to do, right? Everything that they're collecting, that's the way their algorithm works, right? That's how they're able to suggest videos to you. That's how they're able to place, make a message go viral that they want to go viral. So this whole thing is it's shaky at best. So what happens? Well, what you do is you transfer it to a US company, and then the US company has the US that can then tap into that. And then they, instead of having that data go overseas, let's keep that data right here in the US. So there can be some government overreach so that they can go ahead and pull that data on people. And so anytime you see an anti-TikTok bill, nothing to do at all with TikTok, everything to do with censorship and shutting down American companies. And that's what it's all about. And if you even watch Elon Musk has spoken out heavily about it and said, this bill's garbage. This is what the true intent is. And so they're transferring from one deep state agency to another deep state agency. And that's what it is. And if Mnuchin does put together this group and they do go ahead and purchase it, if Rumble, I don't think they're going to let that happen. So I don't
Well,
think Mnuchin Group or Rumble is going to end up with it. We'll see. I love it to happen, but not sure.
so this isn't new, right? So now we're looking at a trend over time. So they presented this bill that passed through Congress now, which is they want to get rid of it altogether. But they've been slow rolling the bills against TikTok specifically since the 117th Congress. So that was 2021, 22. Each year they're doing something. So it's been a steady progress. So in 21, 22, it passed the Senate in December of 2022. No TikTok on Government Devices Act. So that was number one, right? Because there are some security concerns about the app in terms of the intrusive behavior of apps that are developed over in China. And so the bill here was um, the social media video app TikTok had to be removed from anything within the federal agencies, and that passed the Senate. So that was done in December of 2022. Now, what we're looking at here, this was January of 2023. It was introduced to the House, and this bill, specifically the summary on this one. This bill prohibits an institution of higher education from receiving federal funds unless the IHE takes certain action to ban the use of the social media video app TikTok. So now they said you're not getting funds, you got to get rid of TikTok, and that was from universities. Now, if we look at what the actions were, this one was introduced, and it just kind of died out there. It's sitting there someplace in the House. It never passed the House. That was January of last year, 2023. I'm not finding the current bill for now. I'll get that pulled up. The new one, I'll find it.
Bad.
But you're seeing a progression of what's happening. What's interesting about it, if we look at who sponsored each one of them, the first one and it makes sense. Take TikTok off government devices. You want to do that? Hey, that's great because you're worried about the intrusion of that specific application. But that was singling out specifically going after China, without going after China. That was Senator Hawley from Missouri. That was the first one, 21. The next one was Rep. Brian Babin from Texas. Both of them were Republicans, actually, that pushed those two through. This last one, though, I'm trying to find this latest one. I'm trying to get it. I'm not
Once
finding
you find it, it's rough. I wanted to read this comment from ASM
all over the place except for what we need.
He says one of his videos that he posted to TikTok got flagged for hateful ideology. It was a video about the structure of water and ice. Tough crowd.
Well, and come on.
You probably
had a lot to worry about between.
You had some key words in there that it ran through its filter that kicked it out. You may have said something in talking about maybe the structure of that. There might have been some key words in there that would have sort
division.
of took that out. So more monkey business. I don't know what's in that coffee, but you're definitely looking younger. You've got good makeup artists. Which one is it? What are you talking about? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's the coffee. I don't know.
Both.
There's nothing on this.
This is horrible. I can't find the bill.
I'm looking dreadful, man. I woke up today on the wrong side of the bed. Woke up super late today. It's unusual. Space is alive. It's alive. I tell you, it's alive.
Right, it's alive.
Yes, clapping. Yes. So speaking of Congress, speaking of running, an ex-Rippler is running for Congress. And you're probably like, who is that exactly? Who's exactly running? Well, it's none other than Greg Kidd. Greg Kidd was an early investor, and he also he's done some things too. I know that I remember seeing this interview. I looked up the interview that Tony from Thinking Crypto had done with him, but he's running for Congress. There's this campaign website. Let me see if this is it right here. There it is. There's Greg Kidd, independent for Congress, joined his campaign, leader of Build on Strengths. And Jeff and I went through this pre-show, and we kind of were trying to see what the actual platform was. Talks about the strengths. He's an entrepreneur. He's running for Nevada's 2nd congressional district. He wants to build on traditional strengths in mining, hospitality, recreation, bring more high-value industry to the region, along with affordable housing and infrastructure to the quality of life for Nevadans. And then he worked out of the Rockies for the National Outdoor Leadership School, senior analyst in D.C. for the Federal Reserve. Ding, 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 ding. Founder, investor in a number of well-known startups, one of them being Ripple. And he took his first company, a messenger service, public before he turned 40. Came to Nevada for the trails and soon fell in love with the state. His vision is to create a business environment that will create jobs and benefit all Nevadans. His get it done political philosophy Means he'll work with both political parties for practical policies. And usually when I see an independent in there that's going to work with both parties, that was fun back in the 2000s or 90s. You'd say, I'm an independent and I'm going to reach across the aisle. There's nothing to reach across anymore. You pretty much have to put your your claim in the space. You're going to fall on one side or the other. It's unlikely you'll fall on both sides. If you know what the left stands for and you know what the right stands for, you're probably not going to have a foot in both camps. It's pretty difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's pretty difficult, especially when I look at what he's trying to create here. When it's really pro strength in business and bringing stuff into the region and then technology and all that, that's going to require a pro capitalism, pro business message, which one side seems well suited more over the other side. But I get it. He wants to run as an independent. He doesn't want to claim any sort of party responsibility. Generally, when I see that, Jeff, I think of somebody who's an independent who's running on the left, who's mostly center, maybe leans a little bit left, but says they're going to run as an independent.
Right.
And what I did,
there's really not a lot. There's really not a lot on that website. Be interesting to see when he threw it up. Typically, and I'm not going to knock him in any way. If he just put it up, I mean, you need to fill that up with some really quality content. I'm not really seeing anything where I would come out and say, hey, I'm supporting that guy based on what I see there. So it could be in development. Typically, and he references talking about his daughter snowboarding better than he does. But in an environment like that, you're running for Congress, family front and center on the first page. That's typically how you'll see it. You're not going to see him solo sitting on the front cover, but you don't really get any understanding of who he is. Just some real generic verbiage. Doesn't say anything about crypto, doesn't say anything about innovation, doesn't have any policy reference. Just kind of real, just a bunch of fluff, just kind of nicety fluff. It could very well be that it's just a beginning step for him. But I want to pull this up real quick. And so this is what you were talking about, right? So the previous two bills reference TikTok specifically. Take TikTok off of government devices, take TikTok out of higher education. Don't allow, if you're going to have it on your campus, you're not getting federal funding. This bill that was introduced, and it's interesting to see, the process here. So let's go to the co-sponsors first and foremost. And you'll see this whole list of co-sponsors, but the first sponsor was Mike Gallagher, Republican from Wisconsin, right? And then you go down and you look at this bipartisan mix of individuals that came on board, and there's quite a few of them. You can see it. There's a lot of them, and that's pretty much why it passed through the House. But if we look at the summary of this, and this is where things get a little murky, Chip, because we look at this bill, and it's first and foremost in the language, protecting Americans. So if you have a bill that starts out like that, it's right. It's probably bad. Right. Stay tuned. So protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. So foreign adversary. Now, who could that be? That could be anybody at this point. Now, if you dig in, could there be, eavesdropping information and all sorts of cookies and all sorts of bad things that are baked into TikTok? How about all those how about all these appliances coming out of China, that have listening devices, that have Wi-Fi controllable devices baked into their software? But they're not talking about all of that. So if you're going to restrict one platform, why not restrict all platform? This is the problem. So, Chip, here it says, under the bill, a foreign adversary controlled application is directly or indirectly operated by ByteDance, Ltd, or TikTok, including their subsidiaries or successors, or social media company that is controlled by a foreign adversary and has been determined by the president to present a significant threat to national security. Why in the world would they give any kind of power of authority like this to the president, to where the president can now determine on his own, solely on his own, that it's going to be a national security threat, not through an act of Congress? They're giving him carte blanche powers at this point to do whatever the president himself. Well, I think it's a national security threat. Okay, well, how did you come to that determination? Well, that's what I think, right? It's determined by me as the president. So there's a problem in the language here already. The prohibition does not apply to an application that is primarily used to post product reviews, business reviews, or travel information and reviews. So what does that even mean, right? What does this mean to post reviews? I'm sure there's other apps out there that allow you to do that, but why aren't those, baked in with security threat? The bill authorizes the Department of Justice to investigate violations of the bill and enforce the bill's provisions. Entities that violate the bill are subject to civil penalties based on the number of users. Now it's getting pretty extreme.
Ultimately, I believe this will be ruled unconstitutional because, Jeff, the whole idea of the three branches of government was to separate powers, right? It was not to give authority. It's like when George Washington, back in the day, the very first president, they wanted him to be a king. They wanted him to be a monarch. They wanted him. He said, no, it's going to be more of a president. It's more going to we're going to decentralize the power. That's what was the whole idea of the founders, the decentralization, that there would be the government, there would be the states' rights, and then you would have the Congress that would be responsible. And it was supposed to be hard to put stuff through. It wasn't supposed to be, you're not supposed to put these type of bills through, which are it's a censorship bill. It's got fluffy language. If this was really about TikTok, there's not one bit of language that addresses the harvesting of personal data, which was the big concern that they originally raised the flag over, because China is mining data on U.S. citizens. That's nowhere to be found in this bill. This bill is cleverly written in a way that says, oh, the president goes like, that's a threat to national security. So this is how it is. Hateful. The whole idea of hate speech is a fallacy. There's no such thing as hate speech because there's only free speech. Okay. Right. So they go, they pass some stuff that said like, oh, you can be hateful content. I can call you an effing blah, blah, bleep, bleep, bleep. And so what? If you don't like it, move on. Move on. You don't like my what I'm saying? You move on. There's no hate speech. People can call me whatever they want to call me. They can use all kinds of nasty words. It's free speech. This is how they cleverly sort of circumvent the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. They put this language. And Jeff, you're right. Why would you give any authority? I don't care who's running the show. You never give this kind of authority to one singular figure that says, I don't like this website. It's hateful. It's a threat to national security, and then boom, you take it down.
Yeah, I mean, and they can expand on it, as we saw with the Patriot Act. They expanded on it. Initially, they said they wouldn't be able to listen to anybody, only imminent threat, and then they started listening to everybody. So here, you have an issue. So the bill requires a covered application to provide a user with all available account data, including posts, photos, and videos, at the user's request before the prohibition takes effect. Okay, so now they're basically saying you're prohibited from being here, so you're forced. Now the app has to give them all of their data, which you should be able to have access to anyways. But the bill gives the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia exclusive jurisdiction over any challenge to the bill. Now look at how much more extreme they've gotten now. So now not only are they giving the president carte blanche rule over this and authority, now they're giving the U.S. Court of Appeals in DC exclusive jurisdiction over the bill. So now anything that goes has to go to the District of Columbia, which is crazy too, because we can see, some of the issues that are inherent in that region, in that area. Here, further, a challenge to the bill must be brought within 165 days after the bill's enactment date. A challenge to any action, finding, or determination under the bill must be brought with 90 days of the action, finding, or determination. So they're basically saying you have to, as soon as this is enacted, people have a very short period of time to contest it. And obviously you get into that. That's the summary of it. You get into the text of the act, and it really digs in and starts referencing. It does references any of ByteDance. TikTok is subsidiary of an entity owned or controlled, which could be beyond TikTok. And it has to be a foreign adversary. What's a foreign adversary? Like what are they going to determine as a foreign adversary? Well, I mean, that could be anybody. That could be anyone outside the territory of the United States could be an adversary.
You write bills like this, Jeff. Murky. They never nail it down. That's why we have the Howey test that determines what a security is, even 75 years later. because
There
you
we
put
go.
this
Let's
kind
look
of,
at this.
we'll interpret the language. Nobody in Congress wants to actually take the hit for voting something that's very, with pinpoint accuracy, because no, make it sort of murky and sort of, what are you doing there? Highlighting some stuff there, Jeff?
No, I'm going to grab that. So, foreign adversary country. The term foreign adversary country means a country specified in section blah 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 of Title 10 U.S. Code. So
Okay, so that'd
we're
be
going to
like
know exactly what this is. So now you got to go and research it further. They can't just say it.
Before you do
They
that,
can't
let me
just
just
put it
want to
there.
throw out some comments here. So El Jefe says this will give the Biden to eliminate X or Twitter for free speech. Spot on. That's exactly what this bill is. Alex Jones warned us 20 years old that your fridge would be listening to you. They said he was nuts for saying so. And again, he was right. That's correct. Dawn is saying any platforms that put up a Biden meme, they're all going down. That's right. Now, if you know this is hard to believe, but there's a guy serving in prison right now because of 2016 under an alias. He put up a meme that said, if you're voting for Hillary, text your vote, but you vote on Wednesday. And if you're voting for Trump, you vote on Tuesday. Something funny. Everybody knows when election day is, and you're taught this very early on. Everybody knows it's on a Tuesday, when it is. And this guy went to jail because of this meme. Now, the left posted worse stuff in the 2020 election about similar type of thing. Nothing happens. We have two tiers of basically justice here. Crypto Bob says, are you sure Justin Trudeau hasn't drafted the bill? They've got even a better bill over there in Canada. Their bill is a little bit different. They can lock you up forever because you put something up that was that disagreed, and this is something that Justin Trudeau's party is behind, which they can do. And like somebody could share a funny meme. Like, listen, believe me, I see enough of memes from both sides. If they're funny, and I laugh. If I see a lot of funny memes about Trump, and they're funny because it plays off of his sort of personality or whatever. And I see them and they're funny and you laugh. You see one about Biden, you laugh. You see one about government, you laugh. The Babylon Bee makes fun of everything. So something like the Babylon Bee can be shut down. Their website can be shut down because you won't even be able to do parody anymore. And this is what's really sad, that you want to be able to poke fun at all parties. You want to be able to an independent media. You want to be able to go after who's ever in power and check them and make sure they're not stepping over the line. You want to do it legitimately. You want to make up stuff, but you want to be able to do it legitimately. We don't have any of that anymore going on, Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, this whole thing, we get into it and, I'm looking. So there's a couple things here that I pulled up, and this is going to be, they can start, you think about what Gary Gensler's doing against different cryptocurrencies. And yes, we have to be very, vigilant about what's happening in some of these adversary countries, right? So, if we look at what are the adversary countries, so we can pull that up, and here's the list. Now, it doesn't say specifics, but, let's say as of November 28th of 2023, the U.S. Code of Federal Regulation defines the following countries as foreign adversaries: China, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela. And it's not Venezuela, it's the Venezuelan politician, Nicolas Maduro. That's it, not Venezuela. But in every other scenario, it's the country. So it's country, a politician. What sense does that make? And here it says the following country. Now, this could be a mistake based on how this, generative AI kind of pulled things up in the search, because it's hard to dig in to find all the data. But quickly, but here's what's that?
What were you using there? What were you using to look that
I
up?
just did a Google search.
Google search, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of murky trying to find exactly right to that. You have to drill down, and it kept pulling up the same act that we just read over and over again. But here's what's interesting. Ahead of the House's expected consideration, this was a couple days ago. Here's the truth about how the bill protects Americans from. Now, this is coming from the Energy and Commerce Committee. Now, if they're going to put, it's coming from, it's not a third party review source. It's coming from the source that's getting ready to vote on this. So before we there's consideration of the bill, here's the truth about how the bill protects Americans from the national security threat posed by applications controlled by foreign adversaries. So if you're going to see them wrap that language up again, before it's bad enough they're saying it's protect Americans. Now it's not just protects Americans, but now here's the truth about it. So we're the ones passing it. We're the ones who wrote it. I want to tell you what the truth is about the bill, because you're obviously not getting the truth. So, this is claim HR 7521 bans TikTok in the US. Rating false. Now, all of a sudden, the committee, this energy committee here, Energy and Commerce, is now rating the accuracy or inaccuracy of statements. What's going on here? Chip, what is wrong with all of this? Look at this statement. As long as TikTok divests from its parent company ByteDance, which is beholden to the Chinese Communist Party, which it very was, TikTok can continue to operate in the U.S. without interruption. TikTok can choose to protect their American users, or they can side with the CCP. The choice to end Americans' use of its platform is strictly TikTok. Now, the bill does ban TikTok in its present form. You can't say that it doesn't when it does. And then you're saying, well, if they choose to divest and get completely different ownership and a whole different IT infrastructure, then they can stay. But you're basically saying you're banned, but you can choose not to be banned. But here's what you have to do it. So yes, the bill does ban it, but it gives them an out. There's such murky language, Chip. The whole thing, way too murky. This is just crazy.
This here, El-Jefe, this isn't about TikTok. It's about overreach and one more reason to take freedom. Why pass this? Well, here's the thing. Here's the funny little secret about doing stuff like this. If during the January 6th, you want to send the certification back to the states, and the vice president has the power to do that, but all of a sudden everybody says, no, you don't have the power to do that. You don't have the power to do that. And then when the new administration comes in, then Congress 3 months later passes a bill that takes that power away from the vice president. Well, that means the next election that the vice president cannot send that back to the states. You see how that works both ways? You pass it in your favor, but then it comes back to punch you in the face. So you pass something like this that in 2025 that says, hey, you could shut down an organization for election interference, maybe because you put $500 million in the ballot boxes, maybe because your name is Meta, maybe because you did all these things, but maybe there's a new sheriff in town that can shut that company down, right? So it works in both ways. Is why you don't want to have the power, that kind of individual power, in somebody's hands. We have CryptoWeb says, can you do a Yeti giveaway on Twitch? I'm almost sure to win. Our one viewer on Twitch. Okay, we're going to give it away on Twitch. And CryptoWeb wins. There you go. So
Chip, here's one rough freaking brought this up. The Communications Act of 1934, right? So we're not far from where that act was, but if we look at this, think about 1934, what kind of communications do we have at that point? But the Communications Act of 1934 combined and organized federal regulation of telephone, telegraph, and radio. That's what we had at the time. The act created the FCC. So the FCC, another big government conglomerate, to oversee and regulate these industries. The act is updated periodically to add provisions governing new communication technologies such as broadcast, cable, satellite television, and now, they'll have to potentially add others. The Communications Act is an expansive statute regulating telephone, telegraph, television, and radio. Its 7 subchapters regulate virtually all aspects of communication and broadcasting, including assignment of frequencies, rates, fees, standards, competition, terms of subscriber access, commercials, broadcasting in the public interest, government use of communication systems, and goes on and on. Then we get into kind of the law enforcement aspect of it, but then we get down even deeper, which is allows the president to suspend or amend rules and regulations upon proclamation that there exists a war or a threat of war or state of public peril or disaster or other national emergency, or if he deems it necessary in the interests of national security or defense. So this is pretty broad in terms of, can you change the way this whole infrastructure was set up under the FCC guidance for communication? Does that mean that he can shut down communication, prioritize communication? What does it exactly mean? It says here, so he has this broad reach if there's a direct threat, right? There's a threat of war, there's peril of national disaster, there's some sort of national emergency, or it's in the interest of national security or defense. So if you have, let's say, an app like that they feel that is threatening the national security of this country because they have stacked up the evidence. But here it says, the president may prioritize defense or security communications, authorize government use or control of communication facilities, and suspend or amend rules and regulation applicable to any or all stations or devices capable of emitting electromagnetic radiations. So that's from 1934, and that might have been updated. Has nothing to do with TikTok. Then they had some other amendments, but it's really interesting how you can see if you give very generic language, then obviously is going to create, some major issues. And here you have the Telecommunication Act of 1996, and then you have the Patriot Act that all fell under the Communication Act of 1934.
Yeah, Patriot Act is another one here. So big shout out to one Rough Rican. Thank you so much for that super sticker. Again, a long time super supporter of the show. Love it, man. Thank you, Rough Rican. And we are on topic, and it's so funny because Jeff and I have a whole agenda what we're going to talk about today, and someone says, "What about TikTok?" And then, bam, there goes 30 minutes
to talk about.
It's important to talk about because a lot of times people, some people will say like, "Well, I'm not really into politics." I'm like, "Well, it's all." Here's the dirty secret: it's all politics. So you follow the money, you follow the motives, and it all comes back around to politics. Now, the problem with any of these types of bills, whether the founding of the FCC and all the the SEC and all these things. They're created out of good intent, but ultimately what they end up doing is a lot of government overreach. And unfortunately, what they were set out to do, they become a hindrance to progress, to development, to innovation. And what we end up doing with the crypto scene is just telling people to go to other countries, go elsewhere where they're gonna give you a pass and they're gonna allow you to be able to develop. They're gonna support it. You have the UK, you have London says, "Hey, we want to be a hub." You got Abu Dhabi that says, "Hey, we want to be a hub." Everybody wants to be a hub. You know who doesn't want to be? The anti-business people. And then when you see divisive language coming out of Elizabeth Warren saying shrinkflation, we want to penalize these companies for making smaller products. They're making smaller products because the supply chain has gotten very expensive because the gas prices have gone up. And because of your policies of your party have caused this. And these people are always love pointing the fingers at everybody, but never at themselves. There was something where, let's see if I can find this other tweet. But before we do, let's go ahead and see. There were some other good things in here. That's the one right there. Read that one, Jeff.
There you go. So you got the liberals like Biden and Justin Trudeau believe it's their right to control what we say about them. And that is the truth. And, so at some point, we've crossed a line. And when you have free speech, then that also means that you can kind of say what you want about public figures and leadership, and so you shouldn't be condemned or put in jail or have investigations into your background if you're doing those things. If you're a reporter, you shouldn't have federal agencies arresting you and trying and stealing your laptop and all of your data because you're not giving up sources for your articles. It doesn't work that way in this country, and we've seen that over the years. And so, if you have reporters that were ensconced into World War II and they're getting certain information during the war or even currently, are you going to say that you're going to critique the reporter that's actually going to get information? And that's mainly because our news sources are no longer news sources. There are no reporters anymore, or very few. It's mostly just propaganda. And the propaganda is being approved by a higher source. And then all the media outlets are just regurgitating whatever the approved bullet points are for that day. And that's been shown many times over by other sites, by other researchers and podcasters over time. And I find that to be really interesting. And this is also the same type of language that we're now seeing going against TikTok. They want you to think a certain way. They want you to believe a certain way. Now, it's, if you decide that, and think about how, what is it? What is the Apple Store? The Apple Store? Is that what it's called? The iOS store? Is it called the Apple Store? So you got the Apple Store, you got the Play Store, for Google. Those are international platforms. Are they based out of here? They're probably based out of the US. Are there applications that are being put into those stores coming from all over the world? I would have to say yes. Are there certain that are being restricted on there by those company entities that might be regional only? I'm sure that happens as well. But we should have access to the platforms. If there is one that is specifically deemed to be hazardous, then that has to do with the fact that maybe the entities that are listing them in the store, they're not looking at, or there's something where the company that listed the app is circumventing the policies that they agree to, that they're not in breach to harm or do whatever to the users. All of them are embedded with cookies and tracking devices, and it's amazing how in depth, especially with Google and all the others, that they track your movements. They know where you are. They know what you're looking at, what you're buying. They have that interaction. TikTok takes it to another level, but I want to say again, if they're going after a TikTok platform, then go after everything. You can't just single out TikTok. Go after every single product that's manufactured in China, that's over here in the US, that they've done research on, down to the vacuums, to refrigerators, to USB devices, to Wi-Fi devices, to drones that are manufactured in China that are shipped over here. I want every single one of those companies and every single one of those products researched also, because people have found that they have tracking data inside of them, and that it's a two-way communication going on, and it should just be Wi-Fi to communicate within your own little silo of your use space, but it isn't, and it's broadcasting outside of your own Wi-Fi network through the internet to wherever it's going, across servers in China. So if they're finding that, then that to me is as big of a threat, maybe bigger, as a TikTok is a threat because of the garbage that they've disseminated. But it's not just TikTok. It was Google is controlling the information that you see. It was Twitter in its day that was controlling the information that you see. It is the Facebook platform that was controlling the information and the data that you see. And it's across the board. So go after all of them. Let's not just look at one, because they're all a threat in that case. Right,
They
Chip?
are. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly. Funny thing about it is, yeah, they love to do these type of things, and this is just kind of this right here. Elizabeth Warren put this up. Roe wasn't overturned by some accident. We're here because Republican extremists have been waging a decades-long war to take down Roe. But one thing they got wrong is our motivation to fight back and restore Roe. Well, the thing about that is first of all, when you look at the way the Supreme Court looked at that in the early 70s, first of all, the Supreme Court rules on existing law. There was no existing law that guarantees an abortion, so there was none of that. So what they did was they sent it back to the states. And the thing is that if you understand the founding of the country, of the United States, you understand the federal government was supposed to protect for the protective welfare of the organ, of the country itself. But they weren't supposed to. Everything was supposed to go back, was a decentralized power structure where the states could decide. And long before gay marriage became a national thing, it was a state's right. So if you were in Massachusetts and you passed it, that was fine. So you get married in state. But if another state didn't pass it, again, you'd lobby for your state to go ahead and pass it. So the idea was to have this decentralized structure where different states could have their own constitution, couldn't supersede the U.S. Constitution, but they had their own form of government. They have a governor and a lieutenant governor, like a VP, like a president and vice president of that state that rules that state. They have a Congress, they have a House, they have a Senate that's internal to the state, and they pass their own laws that they could pass. And so what happened here was, this is why they all get it wrong, but this is where the propaganda comes in, that there was no guarantee for that. There's no guarantee or provision in that. So they said, send it back to the states and let the states decide. And what the left went ahead and did and said, well, they overturned it. No, they didn't. And abortion is legal in more than 25 states. If you don't like it in your particular state, then go ahead, then go ahead and do something and get on to pass it the other way. And what I said here was, for 50 years, there was an opportunity to codify Roe, yet no action was taken. This mirrors your performance as a senator for the last 12 years, completely ineffective. Vote John Deaton, a true advocate of the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And again, for 2 years of the Biden administration, they could have passed a law that codified Roe. In other words, made Roe the law of the land. They chose to do nothing. They chose to do nothing for 50 years, but bitch and complain about it. But 50 years went by, they did nothing, right? You could have made this happen. It could have been a law. They decided to do nothing. Now they sit there and complain. It's always a straw man argument. They're going to go against stuff. And this is Elizabeth Warren. Complain, 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 yet do nothing. She's a do nothing senator that bitches and complains, and she's going to do this. And she's, 100 of her, I think she had close to 100 bills, now 0 passed. She's ineffective. She's not a leader. She's a finger pointer. And everything is everyone else's fault. It's the Republicans' fault. It's this person's fault. It's Trump's fault. It's everyone's fault. But she takes 0 liability or responsibility, Jeff.
Yep.
What was that last comment you put up there?
Problem.
Was that Liz Taylor?
I just been going through them. Liz says she's such a liar. Supreme Court did not take it away. They gave it back to the states. Exactly what you're saying. And that's spot on. There's states' rights and that's it. So you can't have something that was settled in the Supreme Court, initially, and the Supreme Court finally woke up, said, look, this isn't a federal issue. It's a state issue, hence state rights. And there it sits. Liz was saying, stop selling American land to China. Another part of it. That always kind of goes in cycles. Back in the 80s, it was Japan. Now it's China. But Japan was buying up commercial real estate. China's buying up farmland.
Look at this, Jeff. So Elon Musk reposted this over on X. It says, these scam coins are getting crazy. Someone just shilled me. 27 trillion in circulation, unlimited supply cap, only one node, 25% of supply minted in the last 6 months, 1% of holders own 30%. Just kidding. That's the US dollar. Now, the absurdity of this is that as I was reading through this, you're thinking, what kind of scam is this? What kind of
right? Yeah, I was trying to think what coin that is.
Unlimited supply cap, 27 million. You're like, this is ridiculous. Oh, it's the US dollar. All right, just joking. Warren Davidson had said this is a fatal overdose of government. It's time to restore a government small enough to fit within the Constitution. More freedom, less government, sound money. I commented on that. I said it's crucial to reconnect the founders' aspiration of independence from central banks. The founders were against the central banks. They've been eliminated twice. It's long overdue. Over 100 years with this crappy federal reserve. It's not a federal. It's not a reserve. It's complete garbage, third party, unaudited debt instrument.
Limited government, right?
Yeah, launching a sovereign currency not predicated on a third-party debt instrument. So that's what we need to get back to. I think we will get back to that. I do think the next administration will eliminate the Federal Reserve. It's time to go first audit it and see how much of the money they've been playing with and see how much money, probably have enough money to pay off the debt. That's what I'm thinking, because they're just getting rich and fat off.
Voted against this.
Where that money's going,
yeah.
Jeff.
So I want to find out who voted against HR 7521.
Was that the latest TikToker bill?
Yeah.
The funny thing about TikTok, now, if you know anything about TikTok in the U.S. is very different than TikTok in China. So China is all educational stuff. They don't have the nonsense that we have with TikTok. Okay, so this is how you know they are with the algorithm, because in China, it's all censored and it's all educational stuff. TikTok's a different app. It's like an educational app. Hey, you want to learn how to do something? Kind of like you go to YouTube. That's how TikTok is. Educational.
Who voted against it? Sorry.
Who voted against it? Warren Davidson?
Yep.
There you go.
Here you go. It's all the list. All the ones that voted against it. Davidson. Gates.
Who else?
See if anyone else anybody recognize any of these names here. Of course. That's interesting. Why would she J. Paul, or whatever?
Make it bigger. Can't read those names.
A lot of these are all Democrats here.
Good for them. They should be voting against this.
A lot of Democrats voted against. Oh, look, AOC voted against it. It's interesting. I would like to see why certain voted against and certain voted for it.
Well, because
it's like the squad voted against it.
It can work against them.
Right, man. That's true. They want that. Yeah, but the whole squad voted against it.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting.
There you go, man. There you have it.
But here's the Republican. A lot of mostly Democrats vote against it, but here you go. Warren Davidson.
There you have it, man.
Yep.
So
His hometown is Troy, Ohio, serving in the 8th district in Ohio. Look at that. Look at that. And he's right outside of Dayton. And this whole stretch there, kind of on the border with Indiana. That's his district.
yeah,
It's a big, decent district right there.
Jeff, we just got to run for Congress. Start cracking some skulls. That's it.
I think that's what it is, you know.
So go crack some skulls, Jeff. Can you imagine? We get kicked out so quick. It would be awesome. just like all the good ones, man.
Yeah, so Joe Kaufman's running again.
Oh, is he cool? Is he running against
He
Louder
moved north. Yeah, he moved north, so he's in I think in 23 now.
Okay, so Mohamed put this out. It's been a
Which
while
would be
since
interesting.
Aaron McDonald was on the chain with hosts Jeff, Chip, and Jeff here. And great warm up of Wave of Innovation. Set your reminder below, built on Root. So we have tomorrow night coming back to the show. This is a visionary right here. Aaron McDonald. It's impressive, Jeff. I went back and watched some of our interview with him 2 years ago. It was July of 22 that we interviewed him, and he was talking about all the things they're going to do, and he's accomplished them and more. And what they're doing, and you guys are going to want to see this because you're going to want to see how XRP is involved in this. If you remember, Ripple was part of a substantial investment group that made over a $50 million Series A investment. Ripple joined by a lot of other companies, but they took all these companies, they grouped them all together. They created the Futureverse, the Readyverse, Ready Player One. They're going to be powering that, the Ready Player One, and their technology is mind blowing. It's really, we're going to jump into so much. We probably are going to be pressed for time. We're going to have to move it pretty quick, but this is somebody you want to pay attention to. You want to pay attention to how you can stake over there and how you can earn XRP, which is what Jeff and I are doing currently. It's just a really amazing visionary company. And then we also have the distinct honor of moderating a panel with Aaron and Chef, who has the Zertmon project and is developing a game. So there's some really cool stuff that's happening in the space. And we'll get to meet Aaron next week. We'll see him tomorrow night on Face, but we'll get to actually meet him next week, which will be awesome to see that. And Aaron and Shara, his co-founder, and some of the other co-founders with Readyverse, just really doing stuff like excite the hell out of me of what stuff that I thought was big time in the future when it comes to AI and being able to spin stuff up is happening now. So you're going to want to see that. And we'll get into it with Aaron. It'll be some good, a good interview, right, Jeff? And we got a lot to prep for on that one.
No, it's going to be amazing. It'll be really great. So next Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Next Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, it's coming up. So there won't be any show.
Quick.
There won't be a show on Wednesday because we will Wednesday or Saturday or Sunday because we will be at the Wave of Innovation XRP Gold Coast. Guys, there are still tickets available. There's not too many. But for everybody here, most of the people here that can't make it in person, a lot of people have been picking up the virtual pass. That's $130, $130. You get access to all of it. Plus you get entered into a drawing just by sheer signing up for it. That there's going to be so many signed John Deaton books given away, a couple Crypto Eddie Patreon for 1 year that are given away. It's going to be fantastic. So anyway, really hope that some of you guys can join us at least in spirit, and you can watch it anytime too. So don't worry about the time difference. You get up, you watch it on your own time, and watch it when you get a chance. So
what we will try to do, though, we'll try to go live at some point. That would be really cool if it works out. I'm not sure what connections. Well, actually, think about Saturday. I know we'll be tied up, but it'll be really interesting if we're timing. Well, 8 a.m. is going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It'll be like midnight. 8 a.m. Saturday will be midnight Saturday night. So that might be difficult to try to figure that dimension out there.
Well, late one night we'll go live. It'll be early morning. So maybe we'll do that, Jeff. Maybe we'll just do it live.
Yeah, or we'll try to plan it. Maybe midday, so it's like late at night here. So maybe it's like 8 p.m. here, like Saturday morning. Maybe it'll be Friday night, 8 or 9 p.m. Something like that. It'll be Saturday midday if we have a chance, and we'll do a live stream breakaway while there's sessions going on. We'll have to figure that part out. But that'd be really awesome. If we can pull that off, that'd be really, really sweet. And then we can go around and maybe talk to some people. We'll have to be prepped to do something like that. We'll have to figure it out. So it'd be very cool. Flying cars will be out before the Ripple Court settlement. That's according to Monkey Business.
I don't doubt it. But then this one here, Jeff, make sure you pack your anti-tarantula spray in a box, some jellyfish anti-chafing powder. Chip, have fun. Thanks, man.
They're terrifying. Have you ever seen those bugs over there in Australia? They're terrifying.
So Waza tweeted this out. We're going to meet through Waza too. And she says, okay, about spiders. Here's an Australian whistling spider, relative of the Goliath bird-eating spider. All I can say is F that. Imagine that jumping on you.
Exactly. And those are just like the random spiders, right? Like here, we have those spiky thorn spiders that show up everywhere. And then those things. Imagine you go outside and you bump into one of those cobwebs.
Well,
look at that.
He said he's shit scared of spiders. Walked out the door after midnight. Didn't see this effort until the face hit the web. I think I pooped a little. Australia, gotta love it. And look at this puppy right here. Look at this thing, man. This thing. Look at the size of that.
Screw that.
Look
See
at
what I'm saying? I don't mind spiders. I don't mind bugs. I don't mind all that. But when you walk into their web, screw that.
I walk into them all the time, Jeff. You get out early morning, you go to walk the dog, and inevitably you walk by a tree or something or a bush, and you right into it. I've had spiders crawling on my face. Spiders really don't bug me. You know what I don't like? Roaches, dude. I do not like roaches. Like those things are creepy looking.
Hey, I don't mind those either. The palmetto bugs.
They call them palmetto bugs. They're roaches, dude. And I remember one time, so we had just moved into this house, and I was there when my girls were younger, and all of a sudden a giant cockroach came running across the floor. It was the bare floor, and I took my hand and went, bam! And it was guts spewed everywhere.
Oh, yeah, you never do that.
My wife were like, and I was like, I got him. It's like I slammed them, and I remember like I have a couple memories of these roaches throughout time. So I remember I was in my early 20s. I was living in this apartment in East Boca, and I remember that like I got up in the middle of the night.
Crazy.
Like how you fall asleep and you wake up with that nasty like dry mouth and whatever. I get up at 3 a.m. to go brush my teeth. I'm brushing my teeth like this, and I notice that I feel something on my finger. And it's a roach that's sitting on my finger as I'm brushing my teeth.
That's crazy.
I think I scared the hell out of that roach. I was like, ah. Yeah, I remember one time in college, I was in the dorms in Pittsburgh, and I don't know, I came running out of the dorm. Somebody said, hey, come down to my room. I opened the door. I went to go run. I stepped on a roach. I slipped like a banana peel, and boom, right on my butt. It was a big one too, man. There were some silly roaches in that dorm, man. There were a lot of nastiness. You don't want them crawling at you in the middle of the night, Look at that.
How about that one? That's a dung beetle. Look at that. Look at that horn. I don't know what that is, actually. It's a freaking rhinoceros. I don't know what that is.
Mind this, like spiders and tarantulas. I've held tarantulas. I'm not too creepy. But again, when you see them in person, maybe like they jump on you, but they can't hurt you really. I mean, I don't think they can. They can kill you maybe. I don't know. But I don't know if I want any of that.
I don't even know where this is from.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's
interesting.
It's a no for me. With roaches are creepy, man. They're no good, and they're fast. Yeah. Those little bastards are fast.
They are fast. They go quick. We have all those here. We get the palmetto bugs, obviously, and then the little baby lizards. They seem to be everywhere. Those baby lizards.
They're everywhere, and they somehow get in the house and they just replicate like crazy. I had those.
And they die fast.
What are those called? Those Cuban anolas, those ones with the curled up tail?
Oh, yeah. We got a bunch of those.
I opened my garage the other day and I saw a fat giant one about this big, and he was running like a tank. He was like with the big tail. It looks like what are those things that sting you, Jeff, with they got the little curled up tails. They have those sort of
scorpion. Yeah,
the scorpions. They have scorpions here too. But I saw this little boy, and he was a big boy, man. He was running like a tank. He was like waddling back and forth. And I opened the garage door for him. He ran deeper in my garage. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to help you. Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
But I would always catch him from outside. The lizards are your best friend. Those little lizards, man.
I like all the lizards.
The bugs, man.
I always save them. How about the guys that run on their back legs? Have you seen those? They look like predator aliens.
Oh, they go.
And they run on their back legs. They get up and they have these little short, and they go. Psh. We had a couple of them in the trees here, and then they would go out in the backyard and chase each other, and you'd see them running around on their back legs chasing each other. What the hell is that thing?
Just going to Australia, like people were like, some of our, Aussie friends were asking us, like, what do you guys want to see? And I'm like, honestly, like we have the beach. We've got beautiful beaches here in Florida, Miami Beach. I mean, all the way up the coast, we've got beautiful beaches. Florida's a haven for, we've got our theme parks here, like all that stuff. It's great that the Gold Coast has all that. That's cool. I like it. I like to see the beach, whatever. However, for me, it's just I want to see a koala bear, not in a zoo. I want to see a koala. I want to see somebody had posted a golf course that had a mob. They call them a mob of kangaroos. There were like 50 of them just popping across. Like to me, if I see that, I'm like, okay. I was in Australia. I saw a mob of kangaroos going by. I want to see one of those wombats. Those wombats, those big old
Oh yeah,
fat
that'd be cool.
furry creatures like that. That's what I want to see. We had my nephew came last year from Chile, and he came up to would stay with us. He's 16 years old, and he was enthralled with squirrels. They don't have squirrels down there, Jeff. And we have these giant trees in front of our house, and we have
lots of squirrels. Yeah,
it was so weird. Like for him, it was like I grew up with squirrels. Like and here we have squirrels, and down in South America, there's no. So he was just like, oh my god, they're so cute. They're so weird. They're so and and he was listening to them like he was, and that's how I'd be seeing like a kangaroo in person. Like that would be something. I love that one video guy. He's like attacking the dog, and then he starts punching the he starts sparring with the kangaroo. And those suckers are big, man. They could take you down.
Yep.
They could take you down.
I just like being out and about, just see the normal, whatever goes on in the normal area. See a little bit of the wildlife, go kind of out into the country area. I want to see where, just population centers. That's why I don't need big cities, because I've been to lots of big cities. I just like being out in like more country and a small town. And that to me is a lot more entertaining. Just normal day-to-day stuff. It's either that or hiking somewhere. Yeah, that's what I get a kick out of.
Yeah, hiking.
Yep.
I can't even
Go
see
out.
please.
I don't know if they have coffee over there, coffee shops. They have probably, Foster's beer, so maybe there's a pub or something like that, and kind of enjoy. And, you kind of figure out how people are, in the natural habitat. So to speak.
Jeff, I want to eat all like any Australian,
No.
like what are those
Had
things?
it. Not a big fan of the Vegemite.
Bugs. I mean, anything that's all totally, Oz. I want it.
Everybody, this is John Deaton.
I want to put this up. John Deaton put a new message here. I wanted to play this, guys, before we get out of here, but this is important.
This is John Deaton. Why would I go up against Elizabeth Warren, one of the most entrenched Washington, D.C. elites in Washington? For two reasons. One, because we need common sense, nonpartisan leadership in Washington who represents regular people. And two, because I can win. Some people mistakenly believe Elizabeth Warren can't be beat in Massachusetts, and it's simply not true. Check this out. 64% of all registered voters in Massachusetts are unenrolled, neither a Democrat nor a Republican.
Wow.
Her favorable rating is at 41% because she's only passed one bill in 12 years. In fact,
wait a minute. What's that one bill? I don't think she's passed any bills.
No bills.
I don't think that's right. I don't think I researched. I don't remember her passing any bills that passed. We're gonna have to check. We got to check on that. I mean, John may know better than us, but
a poll showed former Republican Governor Charlie Baker, if he were running against her, he would crush her. Now we turn to me, and 57% of Boston.com readers have already said she's very vulnerable to a candidate like me. And I'm not the only one who knows I can win. Elizabeth Warren knows I can win because she can't stop emailing almost every other day about me, naming me, calling me a credible threat. She's asked other senators to email, naming me, calling me the threat that I am. My campaign is only 3 weeks old, and this question is already being asked.
But you got to ask yourself, why is she so afraid of John Deaton?
This is going to be really interesting. Stay tuned. There's a reason why she's freaking out. Her polling is starting to fade off.
I told my daughters that before you ask other people to believe in you, you must believe in yourself. So I put $500,000 of my own money to start this campaign. And everyone, if I could self-fund, trust me, I would, because freedom is on the line. But the truth is I can't, and I need your help. So please, I'm trying to raise $1 million before March 31st, the end of the quarter. Go to johndeatonforsenate.com and give 25, 50, 100, 500, whatever you can afford. Let's send a message to DC and Elizabeth Warren that the people are coming for that seat.
People are coming for that seat. Well
That's
said.
a great statement, Chip. It's a really good statement.
It is. And also, too, he also accepts crypto, right? So if you got some crypto and you don't want to put fiat in there, he'll accept crypto as well. It's through Coinbase, so you can connect your wallet. And listen, I put out a tweet the other day. I said, calling 75,000 people who joined John Deaton to fight the SEC so we could get a favorable outcome. 75,000 people contribute $5. That's pretty nice, right? So 5, 10, whatever you can give. And again, you can also set up a monthly too. Say like, hey, I just want to give $10 a month. Again, you got to be a U.S. resident, but suppose you want to just give $10 a month, you can go on to $10 until the campaign's over and contribute that way. Maybe not one lump sum, but John needs to raise the money. Want to see him do it. He's a superstar. He's one that really, Jeff and I have said time and time again, one of the favorable reasons that proved that people didn't know who Ripple was. It wasn't based on what Ripple was going to do. People didn't even know about it. And 3,000 people actually got affidavits signed, which spoke loudly to the court. And John Deaton did that. He did it pro bono. Everyone said he deserves to be paid for it. He didn't want to be paid for it. But now he's asking for your help. If you can help in any way, and if you're outside, there's different ways to support John too. If you really believe in what he's doing, buy a couple of his books. Buy some of his books. Just support the man himself, because he you think, oh, it ponied up 500,000. Who's going to pony up 500,000? Look, that's a belief system. He does believe he can win. He wouldn't be flushing that down the toilet.
So and he realized, I mean, if you're running for Senate, he's got the cash and he can invest in himself on that. That's going to be really critical to show that point in order to raise the $1 million. And I think he's spot on with that, and he's going to have to raise that $1 million. He's got a short period of time to make that happen. I believe that a lot of people are going to step up and support him, because they don't want to support the current senator, and they know what she didn't do and they know what she's done, which she hasn't done, which is really, really critical. Now, Mark Smithson wants to see TA on the beach. He wants to see some technical analysis.
Mark, you are a rare bird, because I'm telling you, dude, that's not going to happen. That's an odd duck statement right there. Thank you, and g'day, mates. G'day. First thing I'm going to say to Mark, g'day, Cobb.
Badass Yeti. Look at that badass Yeti.
I'll be done with my Australian. That'll be it. G'day, Cobb, and that'll be it. I'm done. I'm out.
That's it.
Too much of that. I'll be looking a lot of that. That'll be it. Also, cheating in mass is unbelievable. Just saying, hope you can beat her. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so too. There's a lot of who would trust these voting machines that say they aren't connected to the internet, and have been proven that they are
connected. Plus, they broadcast their information. They all talk about how they need to broadcast their data at the end of the session.
Look, I didn't see Jim D in here. He came in late, under the radar. Warren passed the identify as a Native American bill. I identify as a Native American bill. All right, Jim D. Thank you for that, man. Yeah. And the fact is look, if I was running against her, people don't want to bring that up. I will absolutely bring it up, because it speaks to someone's character. You knowingly pretended to be Native American, misappropriated another race and culture. You were found out to be 1/512th of that, and you did not resign. You have zero character, zero morality, and you are just out of integrity altogether.
And there you go, right there. Liz Taylor said, tracking platform GovTrack, Warren has introduced 330 bills during her 11 years as senator. 10 were eventually folded into other bills, and only one relatively obscure bill has ever been enacted. Whatever that bill is, it's probably irrelevant, but she's written 330. She's never really gained any traction or momentum as a quality senator. Hasn't done what she needs to do for Massachusetts, whatever that might be, but for some reason, they elected her there. It's time for her to go. It's time for her to move on, finish up her second term, and go find another career path. And let's see John Deaton, sit down and take the reins in Massachusetts, and let's see some positive legislation being drafted and passed through, sponsored by the senator from Massachusetts, and that'll be Senator Deaton.
He has it right here. The bill she passed was in the wine bar, onto a friend to pay because it wasn't her round. This is how, but this is the reason it's funny is because that's kind of how she is. It's everybody else's fault. It's this person's fault. Zero
That's funny.
accountability. She's done nothing. She claims about bringing billions of dollars that was earmarked for Massachusetts. Well, guess what? Every senator can say the same thing because all that money got dispersed around every other state. You did nothing special. You did nothing special except complain and take. And she goes after American companies. Spirit will probably fold as an airline as a result of them not being able to merge with JetBlue. So Spirit was in trouble financially. They were going to do a merger, and they said the American people will not have a choice. Well, yeah, the American people have a lot of airline choices. Okay, so let's not get involved in that. And guess what drives the airline? If there were one or two, yeah, you might have a valid statement there. But as a result, probably one of those will go out of business. And not letting two of the carriers join forces to become a larger entity and have a chance for survival, but instead Elizabeth Warren and company know better. And her and the resident in the White House, they know better than you, and they're going to crush deals. Why? Because they're anti-business. That's their stance.
Correct.
They're anti-innovation. That's why she's against crypto. They're anti-everything. But you know what they're not anti? Control. And you want to know in the hearings, when the hearings came up and all the Dems got on the mic, not one of them talked about it was wrong to have people who came in this country illegally to be counted as on the census. They want them counted. They want them voting. This is what this is all about. And they sort of gave it away when they didn't speak out against it, right? And when they want these folks to be voting and they want these bills in all these like smaller states, the blue states, they want them voting. It's like, wait a minute, why would you prioritize somebody who came here? And then people go, oh, Chip, you're against it. No, I'm not. I'm married to somebody who immigrated this country legally. From South America. Also, we have lots of friends. So one friend waited 5 years and spent a lot of money coming to this country to do things the right way. And somebody walked across the border and got paid $2,100 a month, got put up for free, got all kinds of goodies and places to live. Now, how
And
did
they do nothing, Chip, nothing.
they did nothing and contribute? Meanwhile, great people, the best of the best that make up the United States, who come from all over the world, every single country, who do it legally. I'm for legal immigration. I always have been. And you do it legally and you wait your turn and you come in and you get vetted, you get background checks. Man, you start a new job, you know what they do? They do a background check on you. Does somebody say they call that racist or illegal or this, that? But guess what? You come in, and then what we found out was they flew 320,000 people to all different cities.
Yep.
Some people just have a bag in their hand. There's no IDs, nothing. Nobody checks IDs. But meanwhile, I have to go through a frisk check when I go through Atlanta. I go through the Atlanta airport, Jeff. They frisk me every single time, right?
Every airport, Chip. Every airport, you got to go through. You got to stand, and they're bypassing the other.
Touch my jaw, like they're like this. They're patting me down, stuff, and I'm like, dude. Every time, like, what am I marked? Is there something on my, on my boarding pass that marked me for a frisk every time I go through the machine? I got to get scanned, and then I got to be pull aside, Mr. Sir.
Yep. They're doing all this on purpose. The whole thing is that they've tried to destabilize this country in multiple ways. They try to control us via health. They try to control us via destabilization of the economy. And the last part that allows them to have complete control is safety and security, not across the world, but right here within our own borders. If you can't walk out of your front door and be safe, and like, look at Venezuela, how Venezuela collapsed. The threats in Mexico, with ease of movement in Mexico, so people can't have ease of access to their bank accounts. You can't have too much money in your bank account because there's always a threat of kidnapping. There's always a threat of being robbed. In Venezuela, for many years leading up until the collapse, you couldn't walk out of the house with your cell phone, with jewelry, with your watches. You had to have bodyguards. There's a whole host of issues in Venezuela. They're bringing all of that right here to this country, and people need to wake up to that fact. And who just said, Liz Taylor saying, wait till the Haitians get here. That's right. I mean, there's a huge, massive Haitian community here in South Florida. They, came here over the years. Now the massive issues that are going on over in Haiti, they want to bring them here. They emptied out all the prisons over there. Gangs are roaming and controlling the streets over there. a number of years ago, and if you go back and watch some shows from a number of years back, they made Haiti look like it was controlled and regulated and safe, and it was developing and moving in the right direction. It was all fictitious. It was all a lie. They covered it all up, and it was bad policy, bad security, bad everything. And now we have a massive issue sitting on, off the coast over there in Haiti, and things are going to get a lot worse. And the fact that they're not bringing in the best of the best to help push and develop this country. They're bringing in the worst of the worst are coming here. And that's the point. If you have to come here illegally, that means that you're the worst of the worst, because look at the total sheer volume of people that are coming into this country. Terrorists are going to come in here illegally. I'm not saying everybody coming here, but the worst of the worst are coming here. The terrorists, the criminals, the gangs, like the Venezuelan gangs are coming here. Terrorists are coming in from the Middle East. It just, there's massive numbers of people that are going to disrupt safety and security in the streets. And mixed into all of that, you have some normal people that are being pulled in here, but too many of them are coming here because this government has offered free handout, free everything. Of course, they're going to come here. If you know that your friend went over illegally and all of a sudden they're in a 5-star hotel and they're getting $2,100 a month or whatever it is on these non-trackable credit cards. But look at the problems. Look at New York City. There's people out in the streets in New York. Chicago, now they have a measles epidemic in Chicago. That's the other thing, is that we've eradicated some of those diseases here in the US over time, over the years, and all these other third world developing countries don't have them under control. And so now, guess what? You bring it all here, guess what happens? It's going to start spreading. And polio, measles, all these things that have been eradicated from here, and maybe incidents pop up here and there. You're seeing it right now. There's a problem going on over in Chicago. Forget about it. It's all planned. It's all planned and plotted. And there you go.
Goop says, yo, just a great kid. Yeah, we talked about this early in the show. You came late, Goop. But anyway, we did get a little bit off topic because I was going to show this. But in 2013 to 2015, I was going to get his exact title from Ripple, but he was the chief risk officer. He's also a co-founder of Apto Payments. He went on to become the director of Global ID. And then he has this company called Hard Yaka Ventures, which is makes early rounds in exchange space startups, candidates through their verticals or particular categories in exchange markets or horizontals, providing services like messaging or payments. Portfolio includes Shift, Ripple, GateHub, Stockpile, LedgerX, TradeBlock, BlockScore, Marqeta, Coinbase, Ribbon Coin, Twilio, MightyText, Halo, Cabbage, 3Taps, Square, and Twitter. So that's his kind of company where he invests in. He sort of is holding company for his investments. But yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier, but just go ahead and rewind. You'll see that early. And you'll see a lot of other stuff too that we talked about. But that's all the time we have today. Really appreciate all you guys. Sometimes we get off. These Saturdays are really kind of tangent days where we go off. But we will be back tomorrow night with Aaron McDonald, who is the co-founder of Futureverse and a lot of amazing technology, which we'll break down tomorrow night. You guys don't want to miss this. This is going to be exciting, especially how XRP plays in the equation. So, born U.S. citizen of an incurable, debilitating illness, worked almost 30 years, paying hefty taxes yearly and paying into the SSA system, can't get help with anything, about to lose it all. Oh my God, that's horrific, Mel. It's horrible to hear. Man, oh man, this is the kind of things that pains me, man. You've got somebody who, has been contributing member of society, a citizen, and cannot get any help. That's not good at all, man. Paying thousands on attorneys just to fight for a small portion of my own contributions for unfortunate times like this. It's infuriating. It is infuriating, especially when you start watching people who just walk across the border, who just, and again, people think we're anti-immigration. No, we're just illegal immigration. And we always believe that the best have come here. My family immigrated, part of my family immigrated from Hungary. The other part, came from Italy, so that's my, I'm Hungarian on my dad's side and Irish Italian on my mom's side. And we all came from somewhere else. I mean, the U.S. was founded. That's the greatness that is the U.S. But again, if you don't vet people, you vet people, you hire somebody as an employee, you vet them, you do background checks on them, you go ahead and make sure that they said what's going to be. But meanwhile, you just walk into the country. What's your background? Nobody even knows if their name they give is the name that they are. Nobody knows. It's just insane. What are you laughing at, Jeff? Something's laughing.
I'm just reading the comments. Cool.
Let's see. You can't. Here, look there. Look, Chip, you can't walk around an airport with a pole sticking out of your middle pocket without getting a shakedown. Well, there you go. That's what you were laughing at. I know that's what you're laughing at.
Yeah. How the F did the U.S. get a mob of socialists running their country? That's a great question.
It's because we allowed it to
when
happen. The frog in
theft
the
of elections.
time, man. It just was slow. It happened. You started seeing it really pick up in the 90s, but it's been around forever and a day. It's been around since the 50s. It's been around since the 40s, but it was always cloaked and it was secretive and behind closed door. Now it's in the open. You're just seeing it in the open, and it accelerated because of one man. DJT is what accelerated all that, because that forced it into the open. It's kind of like, when you're chasing an animal down, you get them in open ground, they can hide in a corner somewhere and they'll attack. But when you put them in the open and everyone gets to see it, you get to see exactly, oh, there's two tiers of justice, and you can go after your opponent. All the things that they say they're fighting for democracy, which is all a bunch of BS. When you start hearing the words "I'm fighting for democracy," that's the flag right there. There's no such thing. We're a constitutional republic here in the United States, and the democracy they're fighting for over in Ukraine is a dictator. Okay, so he banished the one of the churches over there. He put all of the journalists under state control, and he so suspended elections because there's a so-called war going on. So when you do that kind of stuff, I'm sorry, that falls under a dictator. You're not running a democracy. If you can't freely, openly vote for your candidate, when it comes time for election time, you suspend the election, I'm sorry, you've moved from democracy into dictatorship category. So we're not supporting democracy. There is no democracy over there. Honestly, if Putin wanted to take the Ukraine down, and all they're doing is they're eradicating young lives over there. They're getting rid of their young men that are contributors, and they're destroying their society. Why would you do that? They had a peace deal 3 months after. We heard about it first from Israel that said there was a peace deal on the table, and that the UK came in and quashed it because the US was behind it. They want a war. Because everybody makes a lot of money. And then we heard it in the Putin interview when he said there was a peace deal on the table and it got crushed. So they don't want peace. They love the conflict. They love to send money. They love the money laundering. We saw that in FTX. Money went over to there. It came back to FTX and went right into the pockets of the politicians. That's called money laundering 101, and that's what this was all. That's why they continue it.
And that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, if you have an ongoing war and they're sending billions of dollars over there, and it's already untracked, right? Because you don't know how they're being used, what they're doing with them, and it's already been shown there's corruption and money's just funneling into their system and disappearing. Then all of a sudden, you start seeing the coffers of politicians over here, getting filled up, and you wonder where it's coming from. And all of a sudden they come, and it doesn't come in form of big cash, because there's a certain number where, once they have the money and they can't track back to where it comes from, even though it should, they should be able to track it all. But they send them in, like, they use $25 gift cards, the Visa gift cards. They showed that, a couple election cycles ago. Obama got a ton of donations that came through those $25, $50 gift cards.
Yeah, there's always a way to circumvent the system. That's all the time we have, guys. A really big shout out to One Rough Rican for being a great supporter of the show. For anybody that's going to be watching right now, we hope to meet you in person at the XRP Gold Coast, put on by the Wave of Innovation, nonprofit that is doing it surely, and all the contributions to put this together are surely out because they love the ecosystem. Nobody's making any money on it. Any excess funds will go towards grant programs, and that to me speaks loudly about integrity and about one of the reasons why we signed on to be part of this, because it's all about the builders. There's amazing speakers going on there. You can go ahead and go to the XRP Gold Coast website, and you can get a virtual pass for $130. Jeff, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
That's it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's show with Aaron McDonald. That's going to be a great show tomorrow night. And, to all you guys out there listening that tune in with us 3 days a week, you guys are awesome. We do stream 3 days a week, and we're actually over there on the X platform. X is blowing up right now. Chip, between our On the Chain and your direct on X, blowing up. We got listeners tuning in from X, from YouTube, from Rumble. which is really awesome. So we're seeing people tuning in all over the place, which is just outstanding. So big shout out to everybody out there listening and that make this show what this show is. So really appreciate you guys. And that's it. We'll be back on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
With Aaron McDonald. See you guys tomorrow night. Hope to see you all back here. Tell your friends, wake the neighbors, get everybody up for the show tomorrow night. It's going to be a banger. Guys, we'll see you guys on the next one. Chip and Jeff. Out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.